Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Bring Life Indoors. Today I'm going to talk about Monstera Deliciosa. It's one of my favorite house plants. This is how it looks like. That's how it looks like. Beautiful, isn't it? I love these plants. I've made notes so that I don't forget anything. One thing you should know about this plant is that it's a climber. So as soon as it starts maturing and growing, you will eventually have to get a moss pole or some form of a structure to support it. And the other thing you should know about it is that it can grow up to 20 meters. So yeah, it can grow big. But if you don't want that to happen, you can constrain it. And one of the ways or two of the ways to do that is, one, you put it in, you don't plant it in a bigger pot. You can plant it, you can repot it when it's ready to be repotted. You can repot it in a small pot. You don't go bigger, you don't go bigger, just, keep it smaller. And the other thing is, you can start fertilizing it less. That will slow down the growth. Even planting it in a small pot will slow down the growth, because obviously it will constrain the roots, so then it will slow down the growth of the plant. So that's if you don't want your monstera to grow big or bigger than what you feel it has grown to, so how do we care for this beautiful plant? Water. They need to be watered thoroughly, but before you do that, you need to make sure that the topsoil is dry. And something I always say is, don't look with your eyes, touch with your fingers, touch it and feel it, and make sure that the top soil is dry before you water it. Now, the way I do mine, I usually take mine to the zinc and I water it thoroughly, and I make sure that the water drains out at the bottom. I leave it there for a few minutes until it has drained out most of the water. Then I can put it back on its tray. Now, it doesn't like to sit in water. If the water accumulates on the tray, make sure that you throw it out. That's how I do mine. Then I leave it for, like now, the last time I did it is this will be like the second week. So it has been 2 weeks already. So tomorrow I'll be watering them. They are ready to be watered. When I touch them, all of them, they are dry, so they are ready to be watered. So don't be scared. Don't be scared to leave it for a while and let the topsoil to dry out. That you are doing good to your plant, because you don't want to overwater it. That it won't be good for it. So that's water-wise. Remember to check with your fingers the top of your soil as to whether it's dry or not. Then you can water, but make sure that it's got a good drainage, that it will drain well, the water will drain well, and not accumulate at the bottom. If you're watering it and it's sitting on a tray, it's okay, you can water it there, but make sure that you throw out the water. You don't need to take it to the zinc like I do. Just make sure you throw out the water on the tray once it has accumulated on the tray. And the light, they prefer bright light, though they can still handle gentle sunlight, gentle sun, direct sun. They prefer bright light. So if you're gonna give them direct sun, please do that with morning sun, because morning sun is gentle as compared to the afternoon sun. But if you have a room which has got good light and is bright, they'll be happy there also. And as for fertilizing, feed your monstera spring through autumn twice a week, and in winter just once a month is enough. That's with fertilizing. Now and when you want to repot it, always make sure that it is ready to be repotted. How do you know it's ready? When the roots have filled up the pot, then it's time to repot your monstera. Don't just decide, oh, today I'm going to repot my monstera. You know, just wait until be patient with your plants. Wait until the roots have filled the pot, then you can move it, you know, to a bigger pot. How do you know that? Like this one, it obviously is sitting in this lovely pot, so I'm just gonna pull it out. You can see, you just have to look at the bottom. It's not ready. I mean, usually when the roots fills up the pot, you know, they'll be sticking out here. That's how you know. They'll begin to stick out those holes. Then you know it's ready to be repotted. Until then, don't bother it. Leave it. So it's still gonna be in this pot for a while, you know. So that's repotting. Then we go to propagation, something I love doing so much with many of my plants. Now this plant is one of those you can propagate. It's very easy to propagate. I'm gonna take one of these and show you. Now you can see, always go for the stem that has grown a node on it. You see, this one has grown a node on it. There's a node, you know. Then you can cut right there. That's where you can cut. You can cut it right there, and you stick that in water. And after a few weeks, you'll see the roots will develop over time. Then it will be ready for you to transplant it and plant it in soil. So that's how you propagate these beautiful plants. They're very easy to propagate, you know. So if I had left it long enough, you know, this was gonna still grow and into roots. So I could just then cut it and stick it into the soil, and it will do just fine, you know. So some you can just directly stick them into the soil, and that's if your roots have really developed. But if it's just a node, you can just cut it and you put it in water, and yeah, you give it time for the roots to develop. Then you can transplant it. You can plant it in soil from there. So that's how you propagate monstera plants. And yeah, so what are the common symptoms to look out for, or yeah, with monstera plants? Like I say, for me, to be very honest, I never had issues with my plant, with my monstera. And I'm not saying you're not gonna have issues with yours, but I've never had issues with mine. And simply because I try to follow the whole thing around it as to how to look after it, how to take care of it, you know, and all that. So so if you have encountered these symptoms, which I'm going to read, I'm going to tell you then why you are encountering them. That's if you've got the plant and you are encountering a few symptoms, you know. And these are the symptoms which you can encounter and why. And they can be avoided. They can honestly be avoided. Now, one of them is yellowing of the leaves. When your leaves turn yellow. Now, I don't have one I can show you which is yellow. Yeah, I don't have one. But then that is a sign of overwatering. So that means you're overwatering your plant. But other than that, you know, like I say, if then they're turning yellow, and you know, then you need to learn to wait for your soil to dry before you water the next time. That's all it is. You just leave it. You make sure that the top soil dries out, and then you can water. And the next time you water, make sure that you don't overwater it. You'll see as you go on, you'll begin to know your plant, what works for your plant, what doesn't work for your plant. Obviously there's a lot of factors that goes into it. The temperature in the room, whether or not it's in a sunny spot or a bright spot, or there's a whole lot of factors that goes around it, whether it's summer or spring or winter. I mean, winter, you don't want to water your plants a lot. In winter, you want to water them less. So all that does affect your plant. So if you don't know that you need to water less in winter, and you keep the same watering schedule in the winter, you are going to have a problem with your plants, because then unfortunately that means you'll be overwatering them, and then yes, you'll end up with yellow leaves and a whole lot of other things you don't want to deal with. The other one is when your leaves curls up and they crisp at the tips. They go a bit crispy at the tips and brown. That can mean that the humidity in the room is very low. That means then you need to up the humidity levels in the room where the plant is. And so two of the ways you can do that is that you can mist your plant as often as possible. Just take a spray bottle and you mist your plant, or you can put your plant on a pebble tray. So you take pebbles, you throw pebbles in a tray and you put water. Just make sure that the water doesn't touch the bottom of your plant. It's low enough that it doesn't touch the bottom of your plant, and that way it will increase the humidity around your plant. And sometimes it means you're giving it too much fertilizer. Now, if you have given it way too much fertilizer, the way to try and solve that is to wash it down with water. So when you need to water it, then you make sure that you really water it thoroughly to wash down that fertilizer, to wash out that fertilizer. And then you leave it to dry out. Then you leave it. You don't fertilize it again next time, until it's over that stress of fertilization. Then the other symptom is the browning of the tips and the yellowing of the leaves. Again, is overwatering. If you see the tips are getting brown, the leaves are getting yellow, it means you're overwatering your plants. And the other one is when it's dry and brown. When you see dry and brown spots, on your leaves, you see like dry and brown spots on your leaves, that means it's probably getting harsh sunlight. So direct sunlight is too harsh on it. So what is the sun doing? Is burning your leaves, is scorching your leaves. So you need to move it from that place to a place where it will still get bright light, but not direct sunlight, which is harsh on it. And the last one is, if you see that your monstera is not developing holes, or it's not developing holes, the leaves are remaining intact, there's no holes, no splits, nothing, that many times means that it is not getting enough light. So it's probably in a way like you're probably putting it in a place where it's a bit too shady for it, so it's not getting enough light. It needs enough bright light for that to happen. If you want this to happen, for it to get holes and eventually split, it needs to be in a very bright lit room, So that's what you need to know about monstera plants. I love them. I've never had issues about them. I don't know. So if you have one and you feel the same way I feel, please comment down below and share how you have kept yours, and what, if you faced any challenges, what are the challenges that you have faced with it and how you dealt with them. And if you want more tips, please let me know, comment down below and I will share. Or you've got questions over it, you can ask, and if I can answer it, I will answer. But nonetheless, as for me, I love it. I've never had any issues with it. I've never had any problems with it. And I even want to encourage you to go get yourself one. Go get yourself a Monstera Deliciosa. You won't be disappointed at all. It's a very beautiful plant to keep indoors. But nonetheless, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you for clicking like if you like my videos. And if you like this one too, please give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to click the notification bell that you don't miss out on new uploads. And yeah, have a lovely evening and God bless.